Guess who's back? Hey, everybody, it's episode 13. And I must say, this is a very special episode. I've got Johnston. He is Kayak Catfish. This guy catches enormous catfish out of his kayak. And he's got a super impressive YouTube channel. Blasted past 100,000 subscribers. We're going to be talking to him right now.
This isn't another fishing podcast. This is another fishing podcast.
I gotta say, Justin, so I know you're a busy man and you're making a lot of YouTube videos. It means a lot to me that you would take the time to sit down with this dim-witted, I don't know. There's a lot of names that you could come up with for me, but
we can't say them on here.
Can't say them on air, but I want to thank you for doing this. I know it's not something that it's a pain to be able to sometimes to do this, especially with a guy that stops and starts his podcast the definition of consistency doesn't really register in my head. So I really want to thank you for doing this podcast, brother.
It's an honor. I'm a big fan of your channel and watched almost all your kayak fishing videos. At least I think I have anyway. And so you're my first podcast. I say no to everybody, but I'll say yes to you because I'm a huge fan. So happy to be here. Cleared my schedule for you.
well, much appreciated.
I had a nap on the agenda today.
Nice.
That out for you.
Nice. Well, so this is really the first time that we've actually even talked together, which is kind of cool, actually. I like these kind of interactions. Like, the first time we're talking, we're just going to get to know each other in this podcast, and hopefully the audience will enjoy this conversation. But let's get into you. So why I really wanted to talk to you is you are a kayak. First of all, your handle is Kayak Catfish. So on your Instagram, you got a great Instagram following. You have a huge YouTube following now. You catch catfish, huge catfish, out of your kayak. So first off, tell me, how did you get into fishing? Did you get into fishing just the typical way, just as a youngster fishing ponds, or was it like you jumped in a kayak first and got into fishing?
No, I got into fishing really in my teenage years. I mean, living here in East Tennessee, we've got a variety of waters. Everybody bass fishes around here. That's kind of the thing. And so in my teenage years, just kind of took it up, got into it, bought a boat at age 17 and just was bass fishing. And then in my early 20s, got into catfishing. I went into a local bait shop and they've got their picture board up there with all the big catches and whatnot. And I thought, man, I'd like to catch me a big catfish like it's on that wall over there. And went out. It was terrible. Didn't know what I was doing, just sucked. And finally, over the course of time, got a little better at it, figured things out. But I was catfishing out of a boat. And I think it was 2008 or 9, I went out to Las Vegas, a little vacation, did one of those kayak tours below Hoover Dam. And I thought, man, this is a lot of fun. I wonder what it'd be like to catch a big fish in one of these things. So I got home, bought me a kayak. And that's how the whole kayak, catching catfish from a kayak just started by mere accident, really.
And around what time was that? Like, what time period was that?
That was 2008 or 9.
Okay.
That I started kayak fishing. It was early 2000s when I got into catfishing. So it's about 10, 12 years now of kayak fishing.
So do you still bass fish? Do you still do any kind of multi-species angling, or is it just 100% catfishing now?
I do a little bit of everything. I fish a local bass tournament trail. We got a once a month series goes around East Tennessee, and then we've got a Thursday night tournament series just at a local lake out here. So I do a little bit of that, do some ultralight fishing, some striper fishing, just kind of mixing it up. But mostly, I'd say 75-80% of my trips are catfish related.
So when tell me about how you actually, because you're catching primarily blue catfish, correct? Which is the biggest North American catfish. out of a kayak.
And we have flatheads. We have channel cats here, but they don't get as big here as what they do up in your area and out west. I guess it's just a competitive food source. The blues and the flatheads just kind of dominate. And so if you get a 10-pound channel cat here, that's a big channel cat here.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Okay, so
we eat channel cats. They're just bait stealers here. They're taking our bait we're trying to use for the big blues.
Yeah, it's really odd. Like up here, it's the farther north you get, for some reason, you'd think this wouldn't be the case, but I'm sure you've heard of the Red River of the North, Manitoba. There's giant channel cats. I mean, like just legendary, world-renowned giant channel cats up there, 20, 25 plus channel cats. And it just goes against everything you'd think. You'd think, shorter growing season, the colder water. What the hell are channel cats getting so big up there for? And even, I fish a little river. You've probably seen some of my videos. I fish a little river here in Minnesota that is just got giant channel cats in it for as small of a river as it is. And I love catching them. But yeah, when you've got those blue cats down in your neighborhood, those are the biggest of. A 25-pound blue cat's nothing really. That's what you're targeting. So how are you fishing for those big blue cats, and how do you manage to keep yourself in your kayak when you actually tie into one of those dudes?
Yeah, so how I fish for them, I use mostly cut bait. I use live bait occasionally, but being a kayak fisherman, it's hard to keep large baits alive in a kayak for long periods of time. Like if you go out a day or two before to catch your bait, hard to keep it alive in the kayak due to our space constraints. You can't have a 50-gallon bait well in a kayak. So I use mostly cut bait, and I just put large chunks of it on a hook, fish it near bottom. I like suspending baits a lot just because it's the most fun way to catch them. And, target various structures, whether it be ledges, points. Creek mouths are one of my favorites here because I fish the Tennessee River, which is a series of reservoirs. So all this area was flooded. And so you can get out at the end of a creek mouth, looks like you're out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody fishes it. And those fish are just oftentimes staged up out there in 30 to 50 feet of water. And I just sit right on top of them, drop my bait down, and just hang on. As far as landing them in the kayak, I fish out of stable kayaks. When I started out, I was in a cheap Dick's Sporting Goods, field and stream kayak, and there were some pretty sketchy situations back then in that thing. But as I graduated on up to better quality kayaks, landing fish got a whole lot easier.
Nice. What are you in right now?
Right now, I have an Old Town Sportsman Autopilot, and
Nice.
I have a Hobie Pro Angler 14.
Nice.
And just got a Old Town Big Water pedal kayak that I'm going to use in the fall and winter. They drop our water levels down here really low in the wintertime. And when you got a 150-pound kayak and you're having to drag that thing up a hill because the boat ramp is non-existent, it makes kayak fishing not fun anymore. So I went with a little bit lighter kayak.
Yeah, for sure. What, I was looking, there was a kayak angler, you probably saw it. They do these these kayak, nice glossy, bigger magazines where they just put out, every year, kayak fishing. What's happening in the world of kayak fishing? And I looked through, I bought it at an airport, I don't know, a month or so ago. And they were going through all the different kinds of kayaks. And I saw that, I believe your kayak that's got that autopilot, that Minn Kota autopilot. It's that one, right? It's I believe that kayak's actually a Johnston Outdoors kayak. So that's why Minn Kota's kind of tied in with them.
Right.
Which really, I'm a fan of Minn Kota, just Johnston Outdoors in general. And I've liked what they're doing with those kayaks. Just kind of, building in that motor specifically for that kayak. How are you liking that setup, especially just holding on areas, having that autopilot? Does that have spot lock or anything? Or
it does. It has all the GPS functions, your spot lock, your course heading, your cruise control, the ability to record routes and save it.
Wow.
As far as my thoughts on it, it's I love the concept of it. I think it's a phenomenal job just taking that motor, building a kayak around it versus having to DIY and modify stuff like a lot of us have done in the past. But I think while the concept is great, I think the first execution of it left a lot to be desired, at least for me. I think the motor, they used one of their power drive motors, which I think was one of their old models. It's really it's very loud. The motor whatever the motor turns it, like when you're using control to steer it. It's kind of loud. There's like a Morse code dee every time the GPS is operating. So when you're videoing, that's picking up on camera oftentimes, and my audience complains nonstop about that. So oftentimes I don't even use the GPS functions. I'll get out on the water, spot lock over where I want to anchor, drop a physical anchor down, and still end up anchor fishing. So I had high hopes for that kayak, and I think the second and third generations of it, once they get all the kinks worked out, will be great. But right now it's kind of like, this was such a great concept. I just wish it could have been better executed. They'll never send me another kayak again after that.
I appreciate your honesty, though. To me, that's what I really, really, and I think the internet, it's perfect for this. Like, I come from the old school TV background where, a television show, a fishing show was like a 30-minute commercial. So it's nice, like the internet kind of affords you, okay, so there's a few caveats in there. Caveats.
Tomato.
Yeah. But, it affords you to be able to kind of speak your mind, and I like the idea of, growing an audience that can support you as opposed to like sponsors that support you, because then you can just like be really real. So I appreciate your honesty there. It's a reason why I didn't want to be kind of affiliated with New Canoe anymore, because not that I don't like New Canoe, I really love their kayaks, but if there's something that I think I'm not a real fan of, or there's another kayak that I think is doing something really well, I just didn't want have any constraints, So, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, in a convoluted way, I do appreciate you just being straight up, because people want to know. I would just want to be totally straightforward with people. I don't want to, and if they are asking me an honest question, I want to tell them, this actually, and so, like if you're sponsored by someone, the reality is you can't be talking crap about them. Right. And when I say, not crap necessarily, but you can't be, if there's negative things about that product, you can't be talking negative about that product if you're sponsored. Yeah. For the most part. So that's, anyway, we're going off on a tangent. I am the king of tangents, but
I'll say, to Old Town's credit, when they sent out these kayaks to various YouTubers, at least with me anyway, they didn't say gloss over anything. They said, give your feedback to your audience, what you like, what you don't like. I didn't have to sign any kind of contract. I didn't have to say I'm only going to use this kayak exclusively. They were just like, use it, tell us what you like, what you don't like.
That's
and
great.
So I think that's a great way to, when you're coming out with a new kayak, to get feedback. Put it in the hands of people who are doing something for a living. So, because, the average person is going to go kayak fishing, once, twice a week, whereas a lot of us, we're on the water 5-6 days a week. So if there's a flaw in the quality of something, I'm going to find it, not because I'm trying to abuse something, but just because I'm just using it so much. And so, I think it's good from that standpoint, but I do, there is a sense of loyalty. It's like, well, they've done something nice for me. I don't want to just bury them. And I think a lot of YouTubers and other influencers maybe take that a little too far and just cover up everything, thinking that a company will never want to work with them again. And, I think that's maybe the wrong way to approach it, because ultimately your income in the YouTube world is going to come from your audience and the clicks. So those are the people you need to be loyal to. And I don't want people going out and buying a kayak or rod or reel or anything just because they hear me saying it's great, when really that may not be my opinion. So I try not to hold back. I try to give the full story, good, bad, or ugly, on something.
And that's really the beauty of the internet, because I think there was just less of that. Is less of that. Maybe it's getting better, but to be honest, I don't watch a whole lot of fishing on TV anymore. But that was my my criticism, you know, I mean, of fishing television, and that's my career, is that we you know, it can get a little bit too much like just a 30-minute commercial. So, you know, and that's a balance. Obviously, people got to make money off their shows, but there needs to be just a balance where you're not too overly pushy with you know, promoting sponsors. So I just think it's a better. I just like this model better. You know, I like the internet model of content creation better. I think you have a better relationship with your audience. You know, it's way more interactive. I don't know. I really like it. Again, my problem though, I like it. I like the idea of it. I just need to be consistent. I need to get with a program.
Yes.
So you my friend, you are the beginning. You are the gateway. You are like the first. Honestly, this is episode 13. Some people might think that's bad luck. No, Justin is going to be the guy that gets my act together right here.
I'm motivating you right now.
I know. You totally are. You're a great motivator. And I guess we'll just get into this, but there's other things I want to ask you about catfish and everything too. But you're a great motivator because I don't know, what time did you really start your YouTube channel? What time were you doing, you know, content creation, Instagram stuff, all that fun stuff?
I mean, I started my YouTube channel accidentally kind of back in late 2015. I had a video camera, birthday present, filmed some stuff. I was out of space on my SD card, didn't have a working computer at the time, and I was like, I don't want to delete this. Where am I going to put it? YouTube was free storage. Threw it up there, started getting comments, views. I'm like, who the hell's watching this crap? You know, and it's not even me talking. It's just like me reeling in fish, you know, nothing special. But I was getting a lot of comments, a lot of questions. Everybody, what kind of kayak? How do you rig this up? You know, where are you fishing? Blah, 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 blah. And so then, you know, I became more active on social media, Facebook and whatnot. And again, every time I would post a picture, inbox blows up, same questions. And I thought, 2016 rolls around, I'm going to make a how-to video talking kind of about how I do things in the kayak, whether it be anchoring or drifting, then follow that up with a few videos, just me fishing to kind of give it validation. Because, I mean, hell, it's the internet, everybody's a damn expert, according to them. But nobody has the proof to back it up usually. So I wanted to have that. So if people questioned what I was doing, there was some proof on video for them. And so that's kind of, I guess, how it started there. Was probably in 2016 where I started posting more. But I really just I wasn't doing this for a job back then. It was really thought, when I get all these questions on social media, instead of me typing out paragraphs and wasting a bunch of time, I can respond with a video link and answer all the questions that I'm getting asked. And then if they have any follow-up, we can save me on time is what I was really thinking about it. But then it just those videos kind of got a little traction. I was getting positive feedback, people wanting more. And so I just put out a few more videos, and 2018, a few more, and it just grew and grew and grew. And, you know, the next thing you know, it's like, wow, this is really going somewhere. And it's not been a straight up road. There's been a lot of bumps. There's been a couple times where I've just been ready to pull the plug on YouTube and, you know, thought that it was over and was wasting my time kind of thing. And
what happened? What happened with that made you kind of get discouraged?
Well, the first thing was the big drop in views I had. So I'm always trying to get better at fishing. So I do little experiments from time to time. Like I've ran experiments where skipjack here, for instance, is like the premium bait. So I'll spend a whole summer skipjack on half my rods next to bluegill, which is really better. So when I say skipjack's the best bait around here, I can say that for a fact because I've proven it. Or I'll take frozen skipjack wrapped in aluminum foil versus frozen skipjack that's vacuum sealed. Put them side by side. Which performs better over time? Is there a difference? And so anyway, along that line, so 2018, I took up dragging in a kayak. It was a technique I wanted to get better at. I wanted to learn. And so I did that. I experimented with planer boards a little bit. And my views just kept going down, down, down. And, dragging at the time was something that some people were doing it, but it wasn't really mainstream in the catfishing world at that time. And I think maybe that played a role in it, was just I was doing something that wasn't really popular. Another mistake I think I made was, kind of what you talked about, being consistent. Well, I was working a full-time job back then, and I wanted my videos to be consistent. So when fishing was good, I would film as many videos as I could, and I would stockpile them. So I could put out one video a week. But the problem was, once it got into wintertime and bad weather, people are seeing me out there in a T-shirt because it was videos I had filmed way back before, and they don't want that. They want videos pertinent to what's going on right now. And so that was another, it was just a mistake that I was making, but my views, meanwhile, were just bottoming out. And I thought, okay, well, I didn't really get much traction anyway. My channel was still really small, and now my views are down 80%. It's like, well, what's the point in doing this? And so I was going to pull the plug, but 2019 rolls around, and my year-long experiment was going to be, I was going to completely change the way I fished. I've always been somebody that's constantly moving, just trying to cover as much water as I can while I'm out there. And that's true even if I'm anchor fishing. If I'm anchor fishing, I'll hit a spot, cast my baits out, fan casting them, sit there 30 minutes. If I'm not getting a bite, I pull anchor, I'm gone on to the next spot. That's how it always been. So 2019, I was like, did you ever watch Seinfeld, Greg, at all?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. All of your audience right now that wasn't a Seinfeld fan, they're probably tuning out. But I'll give you the George Costanza.
Everybody loves Seinfeld.
Everybody loves Seinfeld. So there was an episode where George Costanza had come to the realization that every decision he had ever made in his life had been wrong. So if he just did the opposite of what his natural instinct would be to do, it would have to be right. And so I got to thinking, I was like, maybe I've been going about catfishing all wrong all these years. So instead of moving all the time and covering as much water as possible, let me anchor down in one spot and fish as small an area as possible for the duration of the trip. And so since my YouTube channel was dead at the end of 2018, I thought, well, if I do a year-long experiment and it's a total bust, who cares? Nobody's watching anyway. I was just going to film a few extra videos there going into 2019, wrap it up, and be done. Well, when I started anchor fishing, first off, I had huge success doing that, just set it out in one spot the whole time. And I guess when I got back to anchor fishing, which is primarily how people target catfish, whether it be kayak, boat, or if they're on the bank, they're just throwing their baits out, casting them out, sitting and waiting, kind of the same thing as anchor fishing, that kind of resonated with the audience. And then my views started to go up again. And I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll ride it out a little while longer. And so my channel kind of blew up there in 2019, had a lot of growth. And then 2020 rolls around, pandemic year. I was just about ready to quit again, since we're kind of on that topic of the bringing out the negative of YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is what I'm best at. So, yeah, go for it.
Well, so, again, I'm learning as I go on this YouTube, internet business stuff. I'm a total dummy on this. I'm just ignorant.
And before I just got to say, let me just interject here. He's a dummy. He's not giving himself very much credit because this dummy has got over 100,000 subscribers right now. So
I'm falling ass backwards into it. But
sorry, I interjected there.
Well, I like it, man. Build me up all you want to. You make me sound better than I am. I like it. But no, going into 2020, I had never properly monetized my channel. When you upload a video to YouTube, for your audience who don't know how the process works, when you upload a video, you click a monetization button that you want monetization on, and there's three options. There's beginning, mid-roll, and end. And so those are the commercials that pop up in the YouTube videos. You see them before a video plays. Then you have the really annoying ones. So right when you're in the best part of a video, it pops up, and you got to wait 5 seconds, and you have them at the end. I hate those mid-roll advertisements. I hate them with a passion. Nobody likes them. So I'd never turned them on. I think that it would be good for my channel. I thought people see that, they click off the video, they don't subscribe. I thought it would hurt my growth. So I'd never turned them on before. And so, we get into the pandemic, businesses were shutting down, everything was on lockdown, and advertising revenue kind of dried up there on YouTube, and I was at a point where I had my best month of views ever. I'd gotten like 800,000 views for a particular month, which had blown away my previous best month. So I'm thinking, here we go, buddy, payday. I'm about to cash a big check. And I get the check, and it was like half of my previous best month. And at that point, I was so frustrated because it's like, working full time, you got all the pandemic stress, and I'm spending all this time putting out content. My channel's growing, but with that, you get all the negativity, you get all the hate that comes with it too. You've got the time constraints of just how much time it's taking up. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I'm not making any money. I'm dealing with all the hate. I wasn't really having fun at that particular time. I don't care about the attention. I'm not looking to be famous or anything. I really don't like the attention I get. So it's like, what am I doing this for? Maybe it's time to wrap it up. And so I kind of made the decision that was going to be it. But again, I was a few videos ahead. And so I decided I'm going to turn on those mid-roll advertisements, because it really don't matter at this point if people don't subscribe or, people are offended, because I'm not going to be putting out more content anyway. So let me just turn that on. I'll make some money with my old library of videos, yada, yada, yada. When I did that, holy cow, the money started going up every day. And I'm not talking about tens of dollars. I'm talking about hundreds of dollars every day from those mid-roll advertisements. I had no idea how much those were worth. I mean, I was completely naive to it. And when I did that, I don't know if it was maybe like just because we were in the pandemic, more people were doing stuff outside, fishing channels kind of got a push, or if because maybe I properly monetized my channel finally, YouTube kind of give me an extra push and started pushing my videos out a little more. Because, I mean, let's be real, they make money because of the advertisements they're able to place in videos. So it's in their best interest to push videos that are monetized to the fullest. If I got a 30-minute video,
were you not monetizing at all?
I had commercials at the beginning and the end.
Okay, but not in the middle. Interesting.
And that's where your moneymaker's at. That is those mid-roll advertisements. That's where, I mean, when I did that, my views were consistent, about the same, but my money just tripled instantly the next month, all because of those mid-roll advertisements.
That is fascinating.
Maybe I need to ride this out a little while longer. Let me just stick with this, because now, everybody's got a price, as the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase used to say. This suddenly became a lot more fun when I was starting to get paid enough to not deal with the negativity or, make it worthwhile to justify the time that was going into it. So that's when I kind of really started hitting it hard. I was like, okay, let's start treating this more like a job now, really putting effort into it and see where it can go. And
I think, the other thing too is I think that you're right in the wheelhouse of, in the fishing, in the internet fishing world, catfishing is, I'm noticing it's super popular, and I don't know if it's not as saturated as the bass market. I've heard people talk about, well, there's 1 billion bass fishing videos. So if you do a bass fishing video, you're going to get lost. You're going to get lost in the, because there's so many bass fishing videos. Whereas in catfishing, there's not as many catfish videos, but there's still a big audience for catfish. So
there's a lot of channels, but there's very few who are putting out consistent content like we've talked about.
Yeah, and then I think also, you couple that, and tell me if you agree, but you couple that with the popularity of kayak fishing, and you got a real good formula there to do well, especially if you're good on camera, you're educational. I mean, I don't know, the proof is in the pudding in your situation. I mean, just look at your growth. I'm excited that you've learned that. It's a great tip just for anybody out there that's learning YouTube or maybe struggling with their YouTube channel, like me. That those I don't even know. Honestly, I've monetized our channel, but it's I don't know if I'm actually, I got a thing in the mail from Google. They said there's like a little password in there that then would allow me to properly monetize the channel or something. It's still on my dresser in my bedroom. But I suppose I should.
Come on now.
No. Listen, August. August is going to be a great month. That I have great hopes for this August. August 2020. What is this month? I can't even remember what year this is anymore. This
You're behind on time. You're still living past, man.
Yeah. So So that's really interesting. I've not heard that before. So monetize in the middle. Make sure you got those ads in the middle of your videos. So there you heard it.
People are going to push back. You're going to get a lot of comments, too many ads, whatnot. And I don't have any control over that. YouTube puts them wherever they're going to put them. But I'll fire back at people sometimes. I'm like, look, I spend hours of my time putting these videos together. I inconvenience myself out on the water. I take every good fishing spot I have. I burn it to the ground because people, locals, they can see my background, know exactly where I'm at. If I'm going to do all that, your sorry ass can sit through a minute's worth of commercials in a 15 to 30 minute video. I mean, if you were watching Bill Dance back in the day, a 30-minute episode, you're going to have, 8 minutes of commercials throughout the show. Plus his whole show is, kind of an advertisement like you touched on with the TV fishing shows. So I don't show no mercy on these people. And plus too, if you don't like advertisements, spend $13 a month on YouTube. You'll never see a commercial again. You can buy YouTube Premium. So that's my thoughts on it. I don't.
That's a brilliant point.
Ain't going to get me into it.
And honestly, those guys, you're always going to have these losers with their comments, and of course it's the first thing it gets to you when you have a negative comment. The positive comments, you kind of like, oh, that's nice, and no thanks, and you brush off. The negative comments, they really stick with you.
I feed right into that.
And that's good. That's good. You feed into it in a good way or a bad way?
Both. I mean, I think, when it comes to motivation, there's two types of asses. There's those that need to be kissed and those that need to be kicked. You can tell me how great I am, pat me on the back all day long, does nothing for me. But you tell me I can't do something, or you disrespect me, or worse yet, you piss me off. Watch how hard I will work. So from that aspect, it makes me want to kind of stick it to some people, when they do that. But at the same time, too, it's like, you get all that negativity, and it's like, for a while, I tried to respond to every comment. I thought, if these people are taking time out of their day, watch my video, and they leave a comment, the least I could do is respond. But as your channel grows and you get so many comments, it takes up so much of your time that you're on your phone all day long. And if every time you're opening your phone, you're getting negative comments, and it may only be 1% of your comments, but it's like every time you open your phone, you're being exposed to it. And as humans, human nature, you're going to focus on that thing. It's like it becomes kind of unhealthy. So now I got me a moderator that goes through, filters everything out, and now when I go to the comment box, it's all positive now.
I like that. That's perfect. Problem solved. You're a problem solver. I like your style.
That's right.
I like your style. So how often? Tell me about your shoot edit schedule. Just go through that. How often are you shooting in a week? Are you tell me your strategy there? Because for me, I've found myself with some time off that is allowing me to edit some content that I've had shot already for quite some time, and also allowing me to do some podcasts that I've wanted to do. Get ahead. It's allowing me to get ahead so I can, that's the biggest thing. So if I get busy at work, I can still be putting content up and not, that's the biggest thing. You have to be consistent. So tell me your, some tips there. Tell me what your schedule is, what your shoot and edit schedule is, and any tips that you can give me or the audience.
Well, so my shooting schedule, to start out with that, if the weather's nice, I go fishing. Now, I try to fish dawn till about lunchtime, 11-ish or noon, because out here in the summertime, pleasure boat traffic's just brutal. So I try to fish weekdays, morning hours, where I can go out, get my fishing done before the water gets rough. And also, too, I've learned through the years, nighttime videos, while I like fishing at night to avoid people, those videos don't perform as well as daytime videos for whatever reason. So I try to film during the day. So if the weather's nice, I'm out there filming. Now, what I'm doing right now that I'm full time, I have my videos a week behind. So I'm filming this week for next week's uploads. And if I can get 5 videos this week, great. 5 videos are going up. Now, that's the plan for right now. I want to do consistent uploads. Being consistent, like we've talked about, is very important. Now, what kind of consistency do you need? is the potential $1 million question. I mean, I look at some channels, you need at least weekly videos, maybe twice a week. But then I look at other channels like that indie yak angler guy, probably one of the best kayak fishing channels on YouTube. He's up there in North Dakota, frozen over all winter long. So he posts pretty consistently up through the fall. Then the winter months disappears, maybe an ice fishing video occasionally. But then when he starts up in the spring again, he's instantly killing it again. So not consistent there all year long, but still able to maintain a successful channel. So, there's that. There's always the wild card, but I think overall you need to be at least weekly videos. But what I want to do, and this is just something that I've kind of picked up on after doing YouTube for a few years now, is that I want to maximize where the months that YouTube's pushing fishing videos. Like on YouTube, fishing's kind of a seasonal activity, even though people like me do it year round. In the spring months, when people are searching for fishing and other outdoor content, YouTube really pushes those videos. So you'll see a almost roller coaster ride with your views. January, February, you're bottomed out. Spring, you're up on an upward climb. About right now, you get in late July, August, you peak, and then you're declining down through November, December. So right now, if I can get 5 videos out in a week, I'm pushing it because those are going to get the most views. I got more chance of one really popping and getting 100,000 plus views versus, in the winter months, put out the same content and you just don't have the audience there. So my goal is to be consistent in the winter, have at least like 1 video a week, 2 videos a week coming out. But right now, I want to kill it.
So when it's prime time, I mean, you're trying to get 5 videos out a week.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, goal. So, when you think about the guys, even just in just mainstream, I'm not mainstream, but outside of fishing YouTube, like Casey Neistat. I don't know if that guy's dropped off the face of the planet or what's going on now, but that guy, he's this huge YouTuber. He was putting out daily vlogs, and if you ever seen any of his stuff by any chance? So no. It was nuts. Like, this guy blew up on YouTube because he was putting out daily content. Daily content. Like he would shoot it. I guess he was shooting it like in the morning, and then he was putting the stuff out or uploading it in the afternoon. But it was really like, the guy was crazy, honestly. You have to be crazy to have this kind of level of being able to put that much into the production of it and then editing and then still being able to get a video out, still able to put the video out that evening or that afternoon. But just my point in this is that he was able, like the algorithm just loves that daily content, and to be able to put 5 out, I mean, it's doing a lot of great things. That's never, I don't see that. I mean, I've got a lot of times I'm on the road, and it's just not possible to be able to upload that much. I do have a new laptop actually right here that I'm really excited about.
That's a great laptop, by the way.
Yeah, I can.
I have one just like it.
Oh my God, it is. It's cost a fortune, and I'm trying to figure out how to pay it off. But this will help me edit on the road, so I am looking forward to that. But you have to be consistent, and if you're, 5 videos a week. I think that's one of, I would say it's one of the keys to you really growing just from the outside. I would say it's one of the keys to you really growing your channel as big as you've gotten it.
It helps a lot because I think, first off, treating it like a job. Like, I'll go out, fish from dawn till 11-ish or noon, come home, eat lunch, edit. That's my work day. And so I treat it like an 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, except I'm fishing for part of my day. But that consistency, if you can have a 15 to 30-minute video every day, weekdays for people, what I want to do is be the Pat Sajak and Vanna White of catfishing, because Pat Sajak and Vanna White, they've been on Wheel of Fortune.
You're way more attractive than Pat Sajak.
Yeah. But nevertheless, they've been doing the same show for 40 years. And so I'm doing basically the same show out there. I'm catfishing. And I want to tie up people's lunch breaks. I want to be that 30-minute episode that they tune into every day. Even though I'm better looking than Pat Sajak, he's had a better track record than me. And so I've got a long ways to go to catch up to him. But that's the goal. He's the model. He's the business model. What I worry about is being the fear of mine, especially now that I've gone to YouTube full time and quit my job and went all in on this, is that you turn into one of these channels, and I won't call any of them out specifically, but you probably know a bunch of them where they have a good run. They have about 2 to 3 years where they're really growing, and then for whatever reason they just peak and lose their audience, and they might have 200,000, 300,000 subscribers, but they post a new video, they get 3,000 views. Nobody's watching. The audience is gone. And I've seen that with a lot of channels who have come before me. And it's like, am I going to be one of them, or am I going to be one of these Guggen people that just continue to grow and grow and grow? I don't know. I don't know.
What do you think is happening there? Why would a channel that's grew that big, massive? I mean, one thing that does super worry me. And I'm way into like current events and politics. God, I really wish I wasn't, but I've always been into what's going on in the world, and so I actually follow a lot of YouTube channels too, where they get into those things and those topics, and YouTube is really clamping down on a lot of those channels and censoring. And I will say, like, that aspect of YouTube and the algorithm, and you really don't know what's going on behind the curtain, is it does add a bit of stress to something where you're trying to grow something. You see the real beauty of this platform and what it can do, but at the same time, what are those guys doing behind the curtain with this thing? The algorithm, there's not a lot of transparency there.
Yeah. And there's no competition. I mean, there's nothing. If YouTube pulls the plug on you, what do? You can't just go down the street and.
I've thought about this too. Like, I mean, especially you're over 100,000 subscribers. I've thought about this. If we would be so fortunate to get to that place, or something around there, where you're growing a big audience. And then you're like, well, we kind of have all our eggs in one basket right here. How can we transition people to move over here? Like, is it possible to go, okay, just as a fallback, or even if you just do it to your most loyal, you say to your most loyal fans, why don't you, you can also go over here. We have a platform. Maybe it's an app or something where you can have your videos on an app and kind of just have your audience go there, so that they're not, and there's a way to do it. Like, the Amazon's got this AWS, where you can have, I mean, Major League Fishing has their own app, they have their own videos on there. You can have your own app, have your own videos on there. That, to me, once you've put so much into it, you've made such a big audience, you've grown such a big audience, that I like that idea of just having this other plan where if something was to happen with YouTube, or they did something algorithmically where things aren't happening, or they're messing with your channel some way, that you have your own little baby over here that's like, well, if YouTube shit hits the fan on YouTube, you can go here and we still have this thing. Have you ever thought about anything like that?
Yeah, but it's like, where do you go? I mean, where can you post videos that are 30 minutes long and have them stored and easily found and cataloged and all that? I mean, that's where YouTube really excels.
And I'm an idiot with this. Like, I've talked to a friend that really knows. He's got a way better handle on how this stuff works. But it would essentially be like your own website, right? But you have an app for the website, and you just kind of tell your audience to go there. It's like a safety net. Like, your audience, if something was to happen to YouTube, you can just, that audience that you took so much time to, foster and grow, you can have them go to the app, just like it was your own YouTube essentially. And your videos are being played not on YouTube, but you're kind of in control of it. It's,
selling advertisements on there though.
Yeah, that's the problem. Or, you use like a Patreon as a service. It's just all this kind of stuff just like kind of runs through my head as far as it's just, YouTube's where it's at right there. There's just no doubt. I mean, everything. YouTube is it's internet video. It's like where you go to watch videos on the internet. They've completely. It's kind of nuts what's happened with YouTube. The fact that they just own the internet when it comes to video now.
Search engine. It's like the number 2 search engine in the world behind Google. I mean, it's
yeah.
If I want to learn something, if I want to look up something, I go to YouTube. And
in many ways, it's great because everybody's there, and it's just like, okay, and like you're a perfect example of that. Where 100. Did you ever think that you would have 100,000? Like, think of how many people 100,000 people is. Like, I mean, I live in a town of 16,000 people, and that's a ton of people. And you've got like you're a small like a small I don't know like a medium-sized city, I guess. You've got an audience.
I can't imagine. I never thought it would ever turn into this. I mean, there's not 100,000 people in the world who fish for catfish out of a kayak. I mean, it's amazing, and how I broke out of the kayak catfishing niche and got out into the larger general fishing world is unknown.
What do you think it is about what you're doing that really is triggering something in people that really why do they enjoy your stuff?
I think a lot of it has to do with, I mean, obviously people click on your videos for a reason. So anybody who clicked on my early videos, they were searching for something catfish related. But I think what keeps people coming back is they identify with you, the person. They see something in you, your mannerisms, who you are. They're like, I like that guy. And so they might find you for catfishing, but they keep coming back for you, the person. And so I think that's the key to success is continue to do what you love to do, share your passion, show how much fun you're having with whatever it is you love to do, whether it's catching catfish from a kayak or collecting rocks in your yard, whatever. If you're passionate about it and you're enjoying what you do, that's a positive energy, and people feed off positive energy. And if they identify with you and they're getting something more than just whatever, then they'll just follow you, and you can grow an audience over time. And my audience really, I mean, subscriber counts on YouTube are kind of the penis measuring contest. Everybody's like, oh, I've got this many subscribers. It doesn't really mean anything. Most people subscribe to your channel, they never watch again. I mean, my views, an average video for me, 75% of my views come from people who are not subscribed. So my subscriber numbers of actual viewers, very small, a few thousand people. But still, it's a few thousand people who tune in, and some of these people watch every single day. I mean, it's the same people commenting, and they watch every upload, and it's like, wow, these people, they've really connected with me here. That's a true connection. And
yeah, so that's really cool. Like, I mean, as much as there's wrong about the internet, having those connections, making those connections with people, just even the fact that we're talking right now, I mean, honestly, I wish you lived closer because I'd love to go fishing with you. And here's the reality. We could still make that happen potentially, but
it needs to happen.
It should happen because I'll tell you I would love to. It would be great if you could come up and we could do a flathead kayak deal. I don't know necessarily how safe it would be. It could be really, really hairy. But at the same time, that's even better. We don't want it to be safe, right? Danger is going to shoot the views out the roof. So that maybe that
I make more money. So we're all a winner in this in the end.
Absolutely. But no. I mean, honestly, there's great flathead catfishing here on the Minnesota River. That would be a lot of fun to do that. I can't remember what I was initially going to say here. Oh, the connections with people. So, yeah, just the fact that, watching your stuff, seeing your content on Instagram, And then, you develop a connection with people. I felt, in a way, it's weird, like comfortable enough with you to reach out to you to see if you would be interested in doing this podcast, because in a weird way, even though we've never talked before, but we've interacted a little bit, and I know that, I've loved your stuff, you've liked our stuff, that I'm like, the hell with it. I think we could have a good conversation. I'm going to invite him on my podcast. And I told you this before we came on the podcast. I'm like, I don't want to talk, I want to have conversations with people that I just feel like you don't even have to they just flow, and it's just very candid. That's the beauty of the internet. You could have these candid, real conversations with people and make connections with people that you would never be able to make connections with before. So as much crap, especially nowadays, that's happening on the internet, there still is a ton that's good about it,
Well, I tell people, I'm like, start a YouTube channel. If you're on the fence about it, start it, because there's so much more positive. I mean, I'm bad. I'm a pessimist by nature, so I'll focus on those 12 people a day that I have to block. But there's so much positive. If your channel doesn't succeed, worst case scenario, you're going to find a community of people who are going to find your videos, who are interested and passionate about the same activity that you are. So you're going to find that community of people, whether it be 5 people or 500, you're going to meet people and make connections and develop true. I mean, I've made so many friends through this that I would have never met before, because kayak catfishing, I mean, let's be real, it's a small group of people in the United States. Most of us are spread out different parts of the country. I've been able to meet and interact with all these people because of my YouTube channel, because they were searching for that, found me, and we made friendships because of it. So I tell people, start it. Start your channel. You'll build a community. You're going to have a business. So whatever it is you're passionate about, you're probably spending money on it. And if you're doing a YouTube business, all that stuff becomes tax write-offs. So there's so many positives to it, other than, if you do blow up and you start dealing with the hate, well, you're probably making money and being compensated.
It's probably a good sign, actually. I've heard that. I did a video with the guys from Northwoods Angling. They do a lot of catfish videos up here. Great guys. We did a video with Pete Mana, Alex Perrick, and Sam Sobey, who's also, his channel's blowing up really good now too. We did an ice fishing for lake sturgeon show a few years back. And Alex said something about that. I think it was Alex. He was like, yeah, it's actually kind of a good sign that you're getting a lot of hate because it means your channel's growing. So, you know what I mean? Can you imagine the hate that those guys are getting? The Guggen Squad?
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
No, can you imagine the hate that those guys are getting? The Guggen Squad, So you just got to brush it off. I mean, seriously. Anybody that's making negative comments on YouTube, what are you doing, you losers?
Yeah, really.
Get a life, you losers.
If I don't like something, I just click off of it. I don't watch it again. Some of these people, they show up. I mean, they're consistent. These haters, they show up regularly.
So what, your job, what were you doing before you jumped into this, and how nerve-wracking was it to make that leap?
Well, I was kind of in a unique situation. So I was a nurse, a registered nurse, and I was doing travel nursing. And so basically, for travel nurses, people, the audience may not be familiar with it, I go to hospitals that have a staffing shortage. They bring in a travel nurse for a contracted length of time, most of the time 13 weeks. And so doing travel nursing, Tennessee is one of the lowest paying states in the country for nurses. So when I started traveling, it was an instant raise to go do that. And so that allowed me the freedom of not only be able to set my schedule essentially by contracting my work schedules, but also, the financial freedom to be able to take some more time off. So what I've been doing the last few years is I'll work a contract, take some time off, whether it be a few weeks or a few months. Sometimes I might stack my contracts and then take more time off. And that kind of helped me grow my YouTube channel in a sense, because I would spend a lot more time in the summer months when it's warm doing what I want to do and not working. So I had more time to fish, therefore more time to film and edit and upload and all that, which kind of helped my channel. And, the beauty now of jumping into this full time on YouTube is that as a nurse, I can go anywhere in the country at any time. I'm always going to have a job. So if YouTube shuts me down tomorrow, well, I just go back to work, go back to the real world. It's not a huge deal versus it's not as big a risk as what it is for a lot of people, per se.
Yep.
And the same thing, too, as far as health insurance. That's one of the big things that people always get hung up on is they're stuck at their job because they need health insurance for whatever, medical problems they have. And in my situation, because I like taking time off in between travel nursing contracts, all these travel nurse companies, they all offer you free health insurance to get you to work for their company. And it's fine while you're on contract, but as soon as it ends, you're off, So I always carried my own health insurance policy so I could take time off and not be uncovered. So, there's really not that much risk for me when it's all said and done.
It sounds like you've got a great situation there. I feel in some ways I have a good setup too. Like, as a freelancer, I'll be gone for like a week at a time a lot of times, but I have time in between that, where I'm off. So I have more free time than if I was, not a freelancer, if I was an employee. So I feel like it's part of the reasons why I'm really I get upset with myself. It's like, listen, you dumbass, you have an opportunity here where it would be a lot harder. And hats off to the guys with 9-to-5 jobs that are able to grow a YouTube channel. I don't know how it's possible. But hats off to them. But for me, I'll be filming for a week, and then I have maybe a week off or maybe 2 weeks off. And in some situations, sometimes more than that. And I've loved the idea of the internet. I love the idea of producing the content that you want to put out into the world. And for me, I feel like I have the job to be able to do this, to be able to potentially make a living at this. And it just comes down to here's the problem. You got to be disciplined too as a freelancer, because you can just be like, I don't need to do anything, I don't, in your schedule. So that's been probably the hardest thing for me, is to be able to go, okay, Greg, you dumbass, you want to do this, but you can't be staying up to, late. I'm a real night owl. And so you can't be staying up late and getting up late and just acting like you're a college kid, dude, if you want to get this stuff done, if you want to do these things. So that's been my struggle. But I feel like things are really going to change, Justin, and I'm on the right track now. So, and you, like I said earlier, you were the catalyst for this change.
I'll take all credit, and I'll need a commission of all future earnings because of it. So.
As long as I get a commission off of your stuff too.
Okay, well, we'll probably work something out. I'll give you 0%, and you give me 50%, and it all works out.
Fine. I'm fine with it. As long as we get to fish together sometime, I'm totally good with it. But so I appreciate your time. We're coming up on kind of an hour here. But I do want to,
buddy. So whatever, I'm on your schedule.
Okay, awesome. But I've got like a list. That's the thing. Like, I don't worry too much about with these podcasts. Like, there's been, when I first kind of started this, I'm like, I should probably have a checklist of everything I want to talk about. It's just, and I don't even need to worry about it. If I'm having a conversation with someone that I really want to talk to, it just seems to flow. And you've got, just talking with you right now, first time ever again, you can just, there's about 1 billion things that I can talk to you about here. So I've made a list, and I didn't take any notes beforehand because I knew that I would just be like, I could talk with this guy for hours. But I do want, so as far as now when I'm writing a list, I'm just making sure that I don't forget anything. But I never write I hardly ever write a list out before I start these things, because I know it's just going to once you start talking, or whoever the guest starts talking, it's just going to be like, I'm going to have a lot to question the person about. Question's probably not the best way to put it, but so yeah, it's not an interrogation, for God's sakes. I don't want it to seem like an interrogation by any means, but I do want to ask you. So what do you, and this kind of goes along with what we were talking about, like, what do you see if you could look into a crystal ball, what do you see is the future for this internet fishing game?
Ooh, that's such a good question. Honestly, I don't know. I don't even know how to answer, because it changes so much so fast. I don't know the answer to that. I think you're going to see more. I think you're going to see more corporate stuff. I think you're going to see a lot of channels kind of revert back to the old way, because more companies now are getting into the YouTube space as far as putting advertisements. I've done a couple recently. Like, I used to just delete all those emails when I would get companies reaching out wanting to give me money to do the 30-second plug in a video or something. Well, now I'm doing this full time. It's like, well, maybe I should at least respond to these emails to see what the offer is. But I think, as companies move away from your traditional magazines, which are pretty much dead, and TV, which people are on less frequently, more people are on the internet now, I think you're going to see more corporate fishing world stuff coming to the YouTube space. And I don't know how that changes things. I don't know. I don't know if you see more people that are doing the traditional fishing show. I don't know. Sorry, I can't be more.
No. That's no. I think
it's the great unknown. It's the Wild West.
Well, boy, when it really started, it was the Wild West. It kind of seems like things are but the reality is, I don't know. I mean, I don't want it to get too organized. I don't want it to get too corporate. I don't want it to get too controlled. It's like we need to. I don't know. It's like Austin, Texas. What is the slogan? Keep Austin. Keep Austin weird. Was, I think, like the slogan of Austin, Texas. I kind of like hope that we keep the internet weird, like I don't want it to be too regulated, and so I guess that it kind of concerns me. But as long as we can keep doing our things and keep being able to express ourselves in a way where we're not, we're just being real with people, I think it's still going to. I really don't think. I hate making predictions, but I think you're right. I think there will be more, and you already see it. You already see that companies are really, they see the value in the internet. Of course, you see you see. I mean, of course they do. So, if anything, people that are doing YouTube, growing a YouTube audience, or an Instagram, wherever, TikTok, whatever the hell you're doing, if you're able to grow an audience, and if you want to make more money other than just, other than your audience and off your audience, I mean, yeah, I think you will have more opportunities that a corporation will come to you and say, hey, would you be interested in working with us, promoting our product? I don't have a problem with that. I think it could be a great thing, just as long as you don't sell your soul, to do it. And
I think more companies are getting on board with the idea that you don't have to do this traditional sales pitch on YouTube. I mean, for instance, I have a rod deal right now. I use Catfish Sumo products in my videos. I don't have to plug them at all. I just use them. And I became friends with the owner of the company through my YouTube channel a few years ago. And, basically just this friendship kind of evolved into this business deal. But it's like, I was showing him my Amazon affiliate links. And I'm like, look, I don't push gear in my videos at all. I maybe talk about, I'm using this rod or reel, because I get asked so many times. But I don't push anything, well, this is so much better than this, or blah, blah, blah. But those links get clicked thousands and thousands of times. And it's because people see me using a product, they see me having a good experience with it. And so therefore, if they're new to catfishing or whatever, they don't know what to buy, they see me using something, they're going to go buy it. And so there's value in that without me having to be Billy Mays selling ShamWow on there. And so I'm hoping more companies, as they come into this space, realize that maybe that's more the way to go than to be, well, I'm Bill Dance and I use quantum fishing rods because they're the best in the type thing. I don't want to be that. That's absolutely what I don't want to be.
Yeah, and
it doesn't turn into that.
So tell me how you're how you're making your money. Obviously, you're making them through YouTube Google AdSense, which
that's the bulk of it.
That's the bulk of it. Okay, and explain what that is to someone who is not familiar with how people on YouTube make money.
So YouTube splits the advertising revenue with you. So all those advertisements you see on YouTube, whether it be the commercials that play before the videos, during or after, or like sometimes if you're watching on your phone, there'll be a little banner under the screen there with some advertisements. Those are considered impressions. So whatever YouTube gets, they split that. And I don't know the exact percentage. I want to say it's like 50-50 or 60-40, something like that. But they split that money with the content creators. So that advertising revenue is where, in my case, for instance, the bulk of the money comes from. But I have other money coming in too. I have my deal with Catfish Sumo that pays me a monthly fee and then a commission on sales. Anybody that uses my link, I get money for that. I have Amazon affiliate, that's the easiest money a YouTuber can make, because you put those links down in your video description of whatever gear you're using. You don't have to do anything else. People click on that link, they buy something off Amazon, whether it's a fishing rod or multivitamins, it doesn't matter. You get a commission on the entire sale. So I make money off that. I have merchandise with my logo, the Kayak Catfish logo. I get commissions off of that. A little bit of money. I have a website, it's a blog, which I haven't updated in forever, but I get 20, 30,000 clicks a month to that, which earns a little revenue. I did an ebook a few years ago when I was doing the dragging and making my own sinkers, so I get a little bit of money from that. So I've got various income streams, but really when you get right down to it, it's all around YouTube. If YouTube goes away, everything else goes with it. So while it's not all coming from YouTube and Google, it's all coming from YouTube and Google when you get right down to it.
Well, I mean, I unless an asteroid hits the planet, I really don't see anything happening to Google or YouTube,
Well, here's the situation that could come up, though. And this is something I've kind of become friends with 22 Plinkster. Do you remember him at all? Do you know him? He's got a gun channel. He does trick shots on YouTube. Very popular, huge channel. Well, a few years ago, guns and gun-related content on YouTube, we may get dinged on this, just me saying the word. I better go to Pow Pow or something. I don't know. But that fell out of favor on YouTube, and all those ads that were showing up in his videos just gone, blink of an eye. And so I got to speak with him on the phone a year or so ago, and one of the things that he had been able to continue doing what he loves to do and putting out his content with just limited ads was he had these individual companies, to a handful of companies that he really liked, enjoyed their products. They basically paid him a good enough wage to sustain his lifestyle just to use their products in the videos and whatnot. And so he's still getting money enough to sustain himself through his YouTube videos just from outside sources. And so, that could be a situation that maybe we run into as fishermen if the PETA people or, animal rights or whatever, gets to a point that, cutting up fish and feeding them to other fish, if that's a problem at some point, then you never know. I mean, the winds change. I mean, last year, what was the child protection people, anybody that had a toy review channel or a children's channel, they got dinged because the perverts are commenting with kids in the chat box. And it's like, now we have to click that box when we upload a video. So is this content made for kids? And if you click yes, then you got limited ads on there. And, so it's like, you never know what's coming.
I've really made sure that my content is not at all acceptable for children now. So it's just made me go even crazier. Just kidding. But no, it's a weird competition to me in the YouTube space, or as far as the internet video space, let's put it that way. Vimeo is nothing. Let's be honest. Vimeo, I mean, what is Vimeo doing? Vimeo is like, what? And they kind of, I don't know, Vimeo maybe started a little bit after YouTube. I'm not exactly sure the timeline there, but
they missed an opportunity is what they did.
Yeah, I would say they totally missed an opportunity, and YouTube just lapped them several times, And
every time YouTube has had a problem, whether it be the adpocalypse or the child protection thing, that has been a prime opportunity for another company to step in and say, we're going to be different. Here's what we're doing. Come to us. And nobody stepped up and done it. So,
yeah, you look at there's Rockfin. I don't know if you've heard of Rockfin, Rokfin. There's Odyssey. is another one that's kind of a competitor. But when I say competitor, it's not, I mean, YouTube is just, it's a global giant audience, So if you hear banging, by the way, right now, so they're replacing the siding on my house right now, Justin. So I'm doing this podcast as they're banging on the walls, but I'm loving this mute button on my mic right here because I'm able to just, when I'm not talking, I just hit that mute button. You don't have to hear, this banging going on. It's not overriding your audio. So it's here's a tip. Here's a tip of the day right here for you. Make sure you have a mute button on your mic when you're podcasting because it's really handy in situations like this.
You're such a professional. You're working through the distraction. I'm very impressed with your abilities.
You have to, as a professional, it's part of being a professional. You don't let stuff get to you. You just keep, you go through, what Winston Churchill said, that if you're going through hell, keep going. And granted, I'm not going through hell right now. The banging, although my cats feel like they're going through hell right now. They're super nervous because of it. The constantly for 3 days, there's been banging on the walls of this house, but so they're not doing well. But I digress. What the hell? So yeah, there's no real. There's no real competition. You have these channel or these platforms popping up, like Rockfin and Odyssey are newer, and I'll keep an eye on those. But the fact that Google, YouTube is, let's be honest, they're essentially a monopoly. Yeah, that's probably not a good thing, but it's kind of a good thing because if you can get it right, like what you've done, boy, you can really grow a huge audience. And so I have mixed feelings about a competitor coming along, because you can
buy them anyway. If they got any traction at all, they would get bought. So
yeah, right. That's exactly right. Yeah, precisely. So, but what are your goals? You've got, I'm not sure what your number exactly is right now. I know you've got over 100,000 subscribers. And we were talking earlier, that's maybe you shouldn't look at that as the end all be all, but it does show people that people are really digging your content, and it shows that you're working hard on your YouTube channel, you're taking it seriously, and you're growing it to this level. What are your goals for your YouTube channel? What do you are you fine with what you're doing right now? You're making a living doing it, or are you wanting it to evolve into something else? Kind of just tell me your thoughts there.
My number one goal with this YouTube thing is to have fun. I love the fact that I can go out and earn a living doing something that I love to do, be my own boss, set my own hours. And don't get me wrong, I'm one of those jaded nurses. I love the job of nursing, taking care of people, great. The corporate administration side, always being understaffed, I don't want to be in a situation where I hate my job on YouTube as bad as I was hating my job in my regular world. So as long as I'm still having fun and paying the bills and able to make enough to put back some for retirement too, I'll continue on with this. Now, as far as setting arbitrary numbers, like I want to be at 200,000 subscribers or 50 million views, I don't really have any of those goals. Those numbers don't really mean anything to me. That check coming in on the 21st of every month is really the only one that matters. And as long as I get that and have fun, I'm going to do it as long as I possibly can.
So what would you tell, someone starting out? Obviously, there's a lot of new YouTubers coming on, a lot of young people. This is, YouTube is such a place for them to get to watch, content. I think it'd be interesting to see how, younger people are they watching TV that much? Is it primarily they're getting content off the internet. It'd be interesting to see what's happening there. But these new people coming up, or doesn't even have to be a young person, whatever age, wants to start a YouTube channel, what would be your best advice to them?
I think my best advice would be, first off, be yourself, because you see a lot of new channels, they want to copy whatever's working on other people's channels. And what are you really trying to accomplish in that situation? Are you wanting a viral video? That's great. You're going to get a nice check one time. But if you really want to be a YouTuber long term, you have to build an audience. And the best way to do that is to be yourself, because you are you. Nobody can fake being you. So be yourself, whatever that is. And it don't matter. I'm a very introverted person. I'm not a, enthusiastic. When I'm on camera, my early videos, I watch those back and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so monotone. I kind of have to amp it up a little bit. But that's okay, because there's people out there that's going to watch that and they're like, I identify with that guy. I understand. I can relate to him. So be yourself would be my first piece of advice. Second thing is, whatever it is you like, do it on camera. Everybody in this world is good at something. Everybody is passionate about something. And whatever that interest is, I don't care if it's something. I mean, when I started putting out these kayak catfishing videos, 50 people in the country maybe was into it. Very, very small niche, but there is an audience out there for you. And it's okay if you don't blow up right away. I mean, I'm 5 years into this channel now and just now got to a point where it's taking off. But if you're doing what you love to do, then it's not a burden. It's you're just sharing your passion with others. So you'll stay with it long term. Too many people quit way too soon. They put out some videos trying to be like everybody else. They don't have success and they quit. And if you would just give it a year or two of consistent uploads, doing what you love, again, you're going to be successful. Now, you may not be financially successful, but you're going to find that community. You're going to have a good time. And you're going to have the tax write-offs. Again, you're going to be able to just, save some money. Even if you're not making money, you're going to be saving some money. So it's all on how you look at it. But that's my best advice for people. Just crank out that content, doing what you love, and try to tune out all the hate. Try to best you can. You're going to get some of it. I feed into it. I hope the day comes where YouTube turns the comment box off. It will solve everybody's problems, but whatever.
For an introvert, I tell you, we're having a great conversation. For an introvert, you're very, I would say, very talkative. Well, and I would say it's part of your. I would say it's part of your success on YouTube as well. You're very likable. It's this first time that we've talked, and I feel like we're having a great conversation. I would not say that you're too introverted.
Well, I've gotten better through the years. I've gotten better. Yeah. And the fact that, just to get in front of a camera too, it's really weird. Like I've done, I've done on camera stuff. My career is basically just video production. I've done all kinds of different stuff in the video production world, like television video production. And I've done on camera stuff. I've hosted shows and whatnot. But what's really interesting I've found is that it's awkward for me. It's not incredibly awkward, but I feel it's less awkward for me to have a cameraman filming me and me addressing the camera. It's less awkward doing that than it is for me to have like vlogging and I'm walking through like a tackle shop or something, or I'm talking to myself out on the lake. I'm like, is everybody looking at me like I'm a huge loser right now? Because what am I doing? I'm talking to myself. Do you ever feel like that? All the time. Like I have left fishing spots because other people are around and I don't want them to see me talking to my camera.
Yes, I've done the same thing.
I'm comfortable with it.
It looks.
I don't know that I ever will.
I feel like such a dumbass, And yet, when you see people that do it really well, you go, "That looks awesome. I love that stuff." They're in an airport and they're going through everybody, and they're just, they don't. It looks great. I love it, but in practice, it's really uncomfortable for me. Yes. I'd rather have a cameraman following me, as weird as that is. Like, it's still uncomfortable.
If the cameraman's following you.
What's that?
You look more professional if you have a cameraman following you.
I guess that's it. it's really bizarre. Like, I'm just getting really self-conscious and like, oh, I don't know, but whatever. It's just something you got to get over, I guess. But so if you got a little bit more time, I kind of want to change topics a little bit. I think we've covered the YouTube. Is there anything else you want to talk about as far as any YouTube, any more YouTube stuff? Any more?
No, I don't think. I think we've covered a lot of as far as like the business side of stuff. Which I think's a good thing, and I think that's what you're doing by bringing somebody like me on or other people and talking about the business side of things is really good, because as somebody like me just telling my story, I'm learning as I go. I'm trial by error, because there's no blueprint out there of you should be doing this or you shouldn't be doing that. I'm just making mistakes and figuring it out. And so anytime you have a conversation with somebody who's gotten a little traction, there's so much knowledge that can be gained. If it's just one or two tidbits, that can be the difference between a successful channel and never getting there. So
yeah, well, no doubt. And I've got buddies, Northwoods Angling. They've got, they've primarily, they do primarily catfish videos, like up here in Minnesota. They've done some alligator gar. They did a blue catfish video that absolutely blew up. Really got their channel growing. Have you seen that one by any chance?
They're another YouTube channel that needs to post more content.
Yeah, so
they could be on top of the game if they would just post.
No doubt. And I I want to have those guys on too and talk to them. And we've done videos together. And it's just, it gets to a point where, again, they all have jobs, and and you've kind of, and I've seen it perfectly in my situation. If you want to make this a thing, you've got to batten down. You got to just, and just ride it out, man.
It has to be a commitment.
It has to be a commitment. You have to look at it as a job. And I guess, to me, in the back of my mind too, that has been my concern. Like, is that I don't want it. I want it to be something like you talked earlier. It's something fun for you to do. I just don't want it to be something that is something that I dread doing. And so it's finding that balance where, and like you said, for you, it was like, oh, now I'm actually, I'm making some money off it. I could see how that could be a motivating factor and can kind of help you post content more consistently. But I think really you have to make an investment. You have to go, okay, I want to do this, but it's going to be an investment in my time. It might suck for a while, but eventually it's going to pay off. But you have to be willing to be consistent. I think you said a year or two. I think if you're consistent and you're consistently bettering yourself on camera, your content, I do think you're right. I think you will be successful, but you have to go, okay, this is going to take up a lot of time. It's not going to feel like, it might feel like you're just spinning your wheels a lot of the time, but I think you're a perfect example of a success story in YouTube. And there are a lot of them now, where YouTube has a huge audience. There's a ton of people out there. There's a ton of people on YouTube. And, if you can just make consistent videos, slowly grow an audience, have those people really connect with you, and just stick with it long enough, it can really pay off. And I followed you when, like, we started in 2015. That's when we started uploading videos. And to see, where you've gone, it's a great success story. It really is. And the fact that you're making money off it, you inspire me, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass right now. It really is inspiring. You're a great guy, and people, when I saw that you were up there to 100,000, I was like, holy shit. like you're killing it. And so,
Right.
yeah, no. And now to hear, I didn't know that you are full time doing it. Are you doing any nursing at all anymore? Or is it full time? So that's a great, and here's the thing, you are, and this is fun to say this, and this is what this is allowed for. YouTube is allowed for. You are a professional fisherman. You are. You get people
for IRS purposes.
What's that?
Content creator.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yes. But you're also let's face it, man, you are a professional fisherman. You've done it, and there's a ton
Listen, I take a lot of pride in that. The fact that in the entire United States of America, we got 3 billion people, few billion, there's one person making a living catching catfish out of a kayak right now. And I'm it. And so to be the first in anything, I think is pretty cool. And so I take a lot of pride in that. It's
as you should. So and it goes into it's just a great success story. You knew what you wanted to do. You stumbled but you dusted yourself off and you got right back on the saddle and just kept going. And it's YouTube's no different than really anything. As far as like what it takes to be successful.
Yeah, it's a kind of an analogy to life, really. I mean, it's the same thing. If you just put the time in, put the work in, you're going to get better at whatever you do, and you're going to have some success.
So my thing with catfishing, so we'll turn more towards, just catfishing from a kayak in general. Like so you're primarily going after blue cats, you said, correct?
Mostly, yeah.
So what are like the seasonal, what are the seasonal movements? You're fishing reservoirs, right? Primarily?
Yeah. Yes.
So when I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, no, the thing with me, like I'm fishing channel cats and flatheads in rivers, and primarily it's a summertime thing for me. And it's snags, it's really in many ways a no-brainer style of fishing. I'm fishing upstream of the snag. In the summertime, they get real thick into snags. It's not hard to do. You position your kayak upstream of the snag, and you present your cut bait. I'm using cut suckers most of the time, and a lot of times I'll just use a no roll sinker. Like a 2-ounce, 3-ounce no roll sinker, and then just with cut bait. And I don't even use it. Goes right down to the hook. Yeah. And I present that in front of the snag, and that's how I'm catfishing. But to me, what's intimidating is there's some reservoirs around here where there's channel cats, and I wouldn't know the first thing to do to try to find them. With what you're doing fishing those reservoirs, what are you doing to? First of all, talk about the seasonal habits, I guess, of blue catfish in a reservoir system. And then, this time of year, how the hell do you find them? Like, what are you doing? Like, explain your day. Like going out. Okay, how am I going to catch a catfish this time of year in the summer?
Well, as far as seasonal goes, in the late spring, early summer, you have your spawn. So these catfish, they move up to the shallows. They're cavity spawners, so they're getting up under logs, up under undercut banks. They, do their nesting, and then they're back out in the deep. So fish, I'm a Buck Perry guy. I don't know if you remember Buck Perry.
Spoon plugging, baby. Spoon plugging.
Yeah. And he's the godfather of structure fishing. And while his teachings were primarily about bass, a fish is a fish is a fish. Deep water structure is the home of the fish. And so I took his teachings, applied it to catfish in the same manner. I'm fishing deep pretty much year round. There's times when fish are up super shallow during those really active periods, but there's always fish deep. There's always some fish deep. So I tried to put myself in positions where I'm going to be intercepting active fish. So summer months, for instance, I like drifting main channel ledges. Those are kind of their highways as they move up and down river. I'll get right on the deepest break line, drift that or troll that, and just intercept active fish that are on the move. One of my favorite places to fish are creek mouths out here, because these fish, they're moving up into the creeks when they're active to move up in the shallows and go feed. If you can find the old original creek channel in these reservoirs, and a lot of them aren't very big, they're not very wide, but they might be 40 feet deep now because of everything being flooded. But if you can put your baits right in that old original channel and intercept those fish as they move in and out, you can set in that one spot and never move and just pick those fish off. So I love putting myself in those type of places because there's never a bad time to fish a creek mouth, a deep point, a deep main channel ledge. Those are year-round type places. And so, doing this YouTube thing, again, back to it full time, I get skunked. I have bad days where I go out and just, for whatever reason, just can't get on the fish. But now I need to perform every day. I need to catch fish. I need to get content every time I go out. So I have to put myself in positions to succeed. And so I try to really focus in on places that are prime locations, for me to get those fish.
So you said you're using skipjack for cut bait, right? Primarily. What is it about skipjack that makes it such great cut bait?
I think it's just because they are a really oily bait by nature, and when you cut them things, they are super bloody. They put out a lot of scent, and it's just it's a big bait. Most of them here are 1 to 3 pounds, so you can get a big hunk of bait, and you get a big fist-sized chunk of skipjack. Even if you're fishing in current, it's going to take a long time to bleed that thing out. So you're getting a constant flow of scent out there versus some baits like bluegill, for instance. They don't bleed very much. They're not a real oily bait. So if you're fishing on a hot day, warm water in current, 30 minutes an hour, your bait's pretty well done. And so you got to be constantly switching that out. Whereas skipjack, you can leave it sitting there for however long it takes. So
tell me if you think this is a dumbass idea. So I had this. So there's two things I want to pick your brain about here, and I got to write this down because I'm going to forget because my memory's so bad. So number one, I have this idea. Do you ever just use like cut suckers for bait, or have you ever used cut suckers? So what in your experience with a cut sucker, do you feel like, what's the oil content of a cut sucker? Do you think it's not a very oily fish, or do you think you wish it, if you only had cut suckers, do you wish it was bloodier? Do you wish it was oilier? What are your thoughts on just cut sucker as a catfish bait?
I mean, I think they're a really good bait. The suckers I normally get, we have red horse suckers here, which some of those get, a few pounds, but most of the ones I get are a pound or less. When I get them, they make an excellent bait. I mean, excellent bait, especially the head pieces. I've caught some really big fish on sucker heads.
So how are you hooking? So I've always been like, I've been a little bit apprehensive about the head because I've worried that, the head's so bony that hook point can get just wrapped up in the bone or something, and I'll miss how are you hooking like a headpiece of a cut sucker?
I go up under the bottom lip and out through the top. So sometimes you'll lose those heads. Smaller fish will grab the bait and it'll rip the mouth off. So it kind of is a hard bait to hook. I usually don't get 2 or 3 fish out of it like I can a skipjack head or a bass head or something like that. But that's how I do it. I just use 10-aught size circle hooks, a big hook. And so normally if it's a fish I want to catch, it's going to be able to easily consume that bait and the hook and everything.
So when you so the reason I bring up the cut sucker thing, so I have a dog that has her coat gets very dry. So we've here at Menards, our local kind of like, it's equivalent to a Lowe's. I don't know if you have them down there, but they're like hardware, and I mean everything. You can get your groceries there if you want. But they have this salmon oil that we've been giving our dog, right? So I've thought like, okay, salmon oil, it's oily. What if I dipped the cut sucker like or marinated it in the salmon oil? Would that be even more like, would it leave more of a trail than just the cut sucker, itself? any merit to this idea or thoughts? I mean, obviously, catfish are like just incredible sense of smell, but I do wonder if I think I might try it. I guess is.
Well, I would say it's worth a shot. My concern would be is the oil. Once the bait that you've marinated goes into the water, did the bait absorb the salmon oil, or is it just going to instantly just wash off or rinse off in the water?
Right. Yeah. It's
going to get a slow release.
Right. I mean, as fishermen, we just do these things. We go,
It's worth an experiment. It's worth a shot.
So yeah, I think I'm going to try it. And the other thing I want to try hopefully this summer, is, do you know of anybody? So, okay, flathead catfish, they're amazing, predators. Yeah, I guess they're omnivores. I mean, they'll eat dead stuff, but they're actually great predators too, Why couldn't you go into a snag just like almost like you're bass fishing? You're just like you would, bass fishermen. We get right into the thick of the cover, man. We're not worried about the bass, we're not worried that the bass even knows we're there, right? We're right on them, and you're just dabbing essentially. A lot of times when you're bass fishing in this really heavy cover, you're flipping, you're pitching into this heavy stuff. Well, couldn't you do the same thing for flatheads? Yes. A big jig. Heck, I mean, tip it with a big sucker, or a bullhead. Guys use bullheads up there. Up here, we love bullheads. Couldn't, instead of presenting your bait in a snag, to a snag, waiting for the flatheads to come to it, couldn't you be more aggressive and pitch and flip just like you would for bass fishing, but with almost like a musky rod or something? I don't know, maybe it'd be a little bit shorter or whatever, and just take those bass fishing techniques to flathead catfish, and a big jig tipped with a live bait, and maybe you wouldn't even have to use live bait. I don't know, but what are your thoughts? Don't you think that could work?
I can tell you for a fact it is working.
It is. People are doing it. Okay, no kidding.
So, a few years ago, kind of the same thing what you're talking about, I played around with some jig heads and putting cut bait on them. And what I wanted to do was get on some rocky ledges and vertical jig those jig heads down into those little crevices, and where the flatheads would be hiding, midday when they're kind of inactive, and hopefully kind of knock them on the head and piss them off and get a reaction strike. So kind of along the lines of what you're saying. But exactly what you're saying is a guy named Keith Severn. He's on Facebook. He doesn't have a YouTube channel to my knowledge. He fishes out of a float tube in Kansas. And what he does is he uses large jigs with pieces of eel, and he does all these, huge baits. And he actively goes down the river in his float tube and actively targets just what you're saying, flatheads, with these artificial baits, just getting that reaction strike out of them. So it's being done. I mean, they're aggressive predators. So if you can put a bait in front of them, it's again, going into those big crevices or log jams or whatever and getting a 30 to 50 pound fish out of it. Well, good luck.
Good luck. Yeah. Good luck is right. But so he's what kind of presentations or lures is he using?
I know he uses big jigs, like bass jigs with larger hooks, and he's got some, I think he uses a gulp eel or something like that. It's trailers. I mean, they're huge, 4 or 5 inch. Okay. I've seen some of his Facebook posts, and they're these huge long trailers. So it's a large looking bait. It's a large presentation, and he's out there in his float tube catching these monster flatheads, just actively working them like a bass lure. It's incredible. I wish he had a YouTube channel. He would kill it on there.
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. So
you should look him up.
Yeah, I am. I just wrote his. It's Severin, something like that, or
Severn, I believe it is.
Okay, Severn. All right. Yeah, I've written that down for sure.
Yeah, definitely hit him up. He would be an interesting conversation.
Yeah, that's really interesting for sure. So so we're almost. I've just got a few more questions to ask you here. But so, what is the most? So someone who's getting into. Before I ask that, what is the best kind of kayak? This is this is kind of a weird question. For you, or I guess, what is your favorite technique to do in a kayak to catch catfish? Like, what do you find is maybe your favorite just because it's fun, but also, is maybe the most effective way to catch catfish from a kayak?
I love suspend fishing, and that's basically I take a Carolina rig or knocker rig, kind of like you described with the weight down there on the hook, drop it straight down under the kayak, let it hit bottom, raise it up 2 to 3 feet, and have my rod in the rod holder. So when you get those hits, those bites, it's violent. Blue cat, very violent hit. And so it takes the rod tip down to the water. You get that tippy rocking feeling in the kayak. That's what makes kayak fishing fun, man. That's what it's all about. So that is my favorite way to fish. And I'll do that whether I'm drifting, whether I'm trolling, whether I'm anchor fishing. And I try to do that whenever possible. As long as the water conditions aren't real choppy or my baits are bouncing up and down really bad, I try to suspend just from a fun factor. Now, if the current is too strong or, it's a real choppy day, then I'll drag or I'll anchor down and cast my baits out. One thing I've played around with this year, one of my goals this year was to get better at shallow water fishing, spend more time in the shallows. And so I've been doing a lot of trolling with just pieces of cut bait under balloons, 3-4 foot down. And that's a really fun way to catch them too, because when you do hook one, he can't go down. He can go side to side or straight toward you, and you get some really fast runs out of these fish, because normally if you're fishing deep, it's a straight up and down fight. So it's just a different way to do the same thing and kind of mix it up a little bit. But definitely suspend fishing, though, to answer your question. That's my favorite way to fish by far.
Have you ever had a situation where things got a little too real out on the water, where, like you especially in a kayak? I know you talked about you're in really stable kayaks, but Any near catastrophes?
Well, a couple weeks ago, I flipped a kayak for the very first time all these years. Now, it wasn't catfishing, thankfully. I was just I was doing some bass fishing with some friends on a really fast river, much smaller and faster than what I've ever dealt with before, and got myself into a tree and rolled. And so that was probably the scariest, most pissed off situation I've been in before. But nothing really bad out on the water catfishing. I mean, there's been times with pleasure boaters where, because I'm out there, when I'm fishing deep structure, I'm out there in the boating lanes. I mean, that's where the wakeboarders and houseboats and all that are going by. But, as long as you're in a stable kayak, it's not too bad. Really, the only kind of sketchy situation I got in catfishing was a few years ago. I'd had a new canoe with a bow mount on it, a new canoe Pursuit. And I know you're a big new canoe guy. I hate them. And there was a lot of chop on the water. And, new canoe makes those bow mount plates. They were marketing that. They don't ever show it in rough water. It's always calm water when they're doing their videos. So I'm out there with, big waves, and every time the kayak would go up over one wave and go down, here comes the next one crashing over. And those new canoe hatches, you shouldn't even have a hatch lid because they don't block a drop of water. So by the time I got back to the car, I had about 10 gallons of water in the kayak. And if you've ever had 10 gallons of water in your kayak hull, you're Titanic rocking out there. So it was sketchy getting back. I had to cross the channel to get back to the car, and I was like, holy cow, am I going to make it? Butthole puckered the whole time. So that's kind of one of those scenarios. So me and New Canoe, still waiting on that phone call from them too, by the way. Great customer service.
Oh, so this is a
canceled.
this is a great example why it's just so freeing to not be affiliated with New Canoe anymore, or and I just, there's nothing awkward about this exchange now. Screw New Canoe, I can say it. Go. That's so BS. So I don't even have to worry.
Well, good.
I'm sorry that I haven't had an experience like that, thankfully.
Glad I'm not calling you a sponsorship deal right
now. No. So it's, everything is fine. There's no worry that Justin just lambasted New Canoe. He's welcome to make, these comments. I have no problem with it, So yeah. I'm glad that you made it through that experience, and I'm not glad that they didn't contact you. You called them and they never responded to you.
I reached out, yeah, because there was a lot of problems with that particular kayak. The hull was very thin, I could take my hand on the side of the kayak and push it in because the plastic was so obviously thin. Of course, the front hatches, was a problem. The gear tracks were crap. I had a long laundry list of problems with that kayak, from a quality standpoint. And, again.
Well, we're all about being real here.
Yeah.
At Another Fishing Podcast. So, I want people to be.
Another fishing show.
What's that? Yeah,
it's not another fishing show. It's another fishing show.
That's right. And by the way, I want to bring this up because so Pete and our plan for Another Fishing Show is we want to produce those quarterly, right? On the Angling Uploaded YouTube channel. So the idea is we have spring. At some point in spring, we upload another fishing show episode. Summer, fall, winter, and I thought of something. I just thought of something while we were conversating. I know that's not a word, and so it would be a phenomenal. Like we try to our Another Fishing Show episodes, or we try to. Those are they're way much harder to produce. It's such a major pain in my ass to produce. I can't tell you, but I do it. It's like my art. It's like my art that I put out into the world, but they are tremendous. I am not a natural editor, right? It's not something that I ever wanted to do with my life, sitting in front of a computer screen and just hitting a keyboard. That is not me. I like to be outside, but I really put my all into those Another Fishing Show podcasts, or, the podcast too, but the show. And so each of those episodes, I want them to be special. I want the content to be interesting, more so than just our original or more consistent content. I want those Another Fishing Show episodes to be kind of more unique, I guess. And it would be super badass to do another, because what you're doing is really interesting. You're catching big fish, really big fish out of your kayak. That would be a really great episode. Now, I don't know if you have any time. I don't know if you have any interests, but if you do, we should do Another Fishing Show with you.
Yes, I totally agree with that. That's the best idea you've had all day.
Yeah. So, I mean, and we would be willing, I don't know when would be the best time for you to do it, but we would be willing, Pete and I, to come down, to Tennessee. And I don't know how long you think it would take to get an episode. I mean, again, with Another Fishing Show, it's not just about catching fish, and the big fish. It's like seeing how you're doing your thing, what's all involved, Justin, in making you be able to be a YouTuber, to be able to make a living doing it. I want to show that aspect of it. Of course, we would get out on the water and we'd be showing you doing what you're doing. I would bring my shitty new canoe down and Pete would bring his shitty Pelican or something. I don't know what he has. It would be just an absolute just a shit show. Now I'm really swearing. But you could, shit really isn't a swear word anymore. They're saying it on the news now, so I figure we're fine. But
totally fine.
But it would be, I think, I'm seeing it now. I think it could be really a great show. Would you have any interest in that? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but it just dawned on me while we were talking that it would be a really great, episode.
I think it'd be fun to fish with you guys. I mean, I'm a big fan of your channel. We'll have to do something to put you some rod holders that ain't going to get ripped off that new canoe.
Yeah, I want you to give us a bunch of crap about everything. Just if you've seen any of what's that?
I'm good at that.
Yeah, so just let's keep in contact about that, and just in general, I'd love to keep in contact with you. But the whole I don't know what would be a good time of year. We can talk about that later. But yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun, and that would be right up our alley. That would be just perfect for Another Fishing Show episode.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay, cool.
It'd be a lot of fun. I've been wanting to fish with you guys forever because, again, I'm a big fan. When you actually put out content, like
When we finally put out content, we're a bunch of I get so mad at myself. Like, you really need to rub off on me because you've figured it out. But it's just like, dude, don't get with the program, Greg. Be more like Justin.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm going to work on.
And so you're procrastinating about this another fishing show episode because you don't want to put all the time into editing, and that's your art. You're thinking too much about it.
I know.
Just
you're right.
It and put it out there.
You're right. You know exactly. I mean, you know exactly. You know who I am. That's it. So I think too much about stuff, and I just go and my wheels turn, and they spin, and I don't even. But like getting a haircut, for instance. That's something I shouldn't be procrastinating about anymore. I'm just a mess. I'm like a squirrel, or I don't know. I can't focus. I'm getting better. But in fact, I'm getting so good that this isn't going to be a problem anymore. I've made a commitment that I'm getting my act together.
Yes.
I was going to say the S word, but I've said too many S words, so.
Just put out the content.
Yeah,
the best video I ever made, nobody watched. I put out some crap, and I get all these comments how great it is, and I'm like, what the heck? I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah,
if I catch
you're right.
The video, it's going online.
You're right, man. You're right. Absolutely, I agree. Well, I just want to thank you for doing this, man, and it really is a pleasure. And again, I want to congratulate you on your success. The fact that you're able to make a living doing what you love is like one of the greatest, to me, American success stories there is. Like that, to me, is the American success story, and you're doing it. And so major kudos to you. Tell people how they can find you on the interweb.
Type in Kayak Catfish on any social media platform, Google, whatever, you find me. I created my channel name, Kayak Catfish. The reason it's Kayak Catfish and not Kayak Catfishing was kayakcatfishing.com wasn't available at the time I created this. Now, I own it now, but back then I wanted one handle for all social media platforms. That way, no matter what you typed in, you found me. I created that one brand around my thing, and so now anytime you type in anything kayak catfishing related, up pops my beautiful, not Pat Sajak face. So
you're way more attractive than Pat Sajak, I must say. So
Pat Sajak wants to be me.
Exactly. Vanna White wants to be me. I don't know what any of that means. I have no idea what that means. It's funny that you say that about you didn't go with Kayak Catfish. You said you didn't go with Kayak Catfishing because .com was already taken. So when we came up with the idea of another fishing show, the show title originally we wanted it to be Fishing Show. That's it, just Fishing Show, right? And so like just to, you know what I mean, it's like a generic, like, you know, tongue-in-cheek, just fishing show. It's like just block white letters, just fishing show, right? But I looked up the you know, to see if the website was available, right? Or, you know, the .com, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. And it was already taken. Fishingshow.com was taken. So I'm like, we got to come up with something else. And then I decided another fishing show. The rest is history. But yeah. But dude, seriously, thank you so much. And everybody, check out Kayak Catfish. Go to Instagram, YouTube. This guy is the man. Appreciate it so much, brother. And let's get out on the water as soon as we can, man. Let's do it.
My schedule's open. I'm waiting on you guys.
All right. I'll be contacting you, brother. Check him out. Right, Justin Johnston, Kayak Catfish. We're out. Have a good one, brother. Thank you.
You too. Thank you.